Good morning. Oh, you're not even plugged in. Good morning. Oh my god, guys. This is the last morning coffee in this apartment. Let's let that sink in for a minute.
The day is warm. Northern clouds.
You guys can't see it. We have Bentley joining us. Just being extra cute. You know how cute you are? Oh yeah, we've got all the last morning coffee vibes going. So I've never filmed in this, well I have, but I haven't filmed like in this kind of location in a while, and the sun's kind of coming through right now, so you'll just have to excuse the fluctuating light. I thought that it was kind of cozy in here. I just put out my new fall bedding. I moved tomorrow, so like this bedding is basically the bedding that I got for the new apartment. And I lit up a nice candle in the background so that we could just have all the vibes going, but I figured I didn't want to just like have my morning coffee for the last time and not do something with it, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't just let it pass. So I was like, I'm gonna film a coffee talk. I brewed up a second cup because the first cup was when I tweeted that I was gonna do this, and asked you guys to just like send in any questions if you guys wanted. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of ramble about moving, about everything, just like take in my last cup of coffee in this apartment in the morning with you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna open up the tweet just because I could sit here and ramble about moving, but I feel like we should keep on course with some of your guys' questions, so let's just pop them on open now, shall we? So Anthony A asks, what's your best memory in the apartment? My favorite memory, and the one that's been really kind of popping up for me lately, which is weird, maybe that's why it has been, so that I could tell you guys about it, is the very first night that I moved in here. It was January 6th, 2015. Stay the next 2 nights with me. So we're going to freshen up, shower, because today was such a workout. Mimosas, then wine. Mimosas while we get ready, then wine while we eat dinner. Yeah, I feel like that's a good Friday night plan.
Forever you'll be just another. Save me from me. Won't you save me from me?
2016. I had just moved in. My dad and my sister came up and helped me move all my stuff in, and then my sister stayed the night. We were wiped. It was cold. It was winter. We were tired. My dad went home and like brought the truck back home, and my sister stayed, and she fell asleep on the couch. And it was the first night that I had moved to Toronto, the first night that I was in a big new city. I had no idea what was to come. I decided to move to Toronto very last minute. I'd always wanted to do it. There wasn't anything that specifically made it need to happen. I just made it happen kind of thing. It was one of those what the hell moments where you're like, what is going on? But you also just know that you need to do it. And it was the first night here, and I was in the office, like the other bedroom, the one that has the really cool view. I was putting away all my office stuff. Yes, sunlight, get in on this. The sunlight's like, yes, this is a golden memory. And I just like stopped for a moment. I'm gonna get emotional in this video, and I truly can't. Like, it's just an apartment. Trust me when I say like I'm really comforted and content with leaving this apartment behind. Like, I'm ready. But I was looking out the window, and I just like, I had this overwhelming feeling where I was like, this city is gonna change me. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But Taylor Swift was playing, and I was just like looking at this incredible view, and I had a moment. That was probably one of my favorite memories, only because there's a weird parallel to it. So now that I'm obviously leaving, funny enough, just a week, 2 weeks ago, my sister was down and we went and saw Reputation, like the tour. I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, okay? Grade 11, my whole bedroom was Taylor Swift, and I was what, 17 at the time, and I went as Taylor Swift for Halloween, like not jokingly, seriously. So I'm a huge Swiftie, you know? My sister came down and we went to Reputation, and same thing where I had one of those moments the day that we were going where I was just like looking out that office window being like, 2 years ago, pretty much a year and a half, 2 years ago, I moved into this apartment, and I looked out of this window listening to Taylor Swift. And now I'm leaving this apartment. My sister's down here again, and we're going to see Taylor Swift and that concert. I don't think there's many Reputation stops left, but if there are and you're in your area, go. The concert was amazing. But it was one of the best nights that I've had all summer was the Taylor Swift concert. It was so fitting because it connected kind of to the first night I was here. It was incredible. So that was a really long explanation, but those are some of my favorite memories in this apartment, but there's so many more. So Alexa McMahon wants to know, what are some things you've learned about yourself or in general by living alone that you wouldn't have ever learned if you hadn't done it? I haven't really fully made a video about moving, but I'm moving in with Larissa. She is one of my best friends here in the city now, and I'm so excited for it because it's just like, when I lived with Megs, we were just like a team duo in Kingston, and now I'm moving in with Larissa and I feel like we're just like a team duo in Toronto. I get those like Gossip Girl, like Sex in the City vibes. Larissa's in PR, I do like YouTube. I feel like this is gonna be a really cool chapter of my life. At the same time, I'm leaving behind living alone, and that is something that I wasn't sure I would ever do again. I feel like it was something I would have said no unless I found somebody I knew I could live with, and then I met Larissa and we became really tight, and I was like, girl, you somebody I could live with. Like, we get along so well. That said, living alone, again, is another thing that I'm going to feel nostalgic about, but I think I'm ready to kind of live in the same home as somebody. I think there's people you're related to. I think there's people you're born into, and I think there's a family that is blood. And then I think that there are people in your life, whether you end up living with them or not, that become your family by choice. I'm in a phase in my life where I just want to be surrounded by people that I consider family by choice. And I don't think I would have known or been comfortable even saying that if I didn't live alone, because living alone is one of those things that was the hardest thing I've ever done and the best thing I've ever done. I think the first year of living alone back in my old Kingston apartment, I will pop up some videos here so you guys can remember. Obviously, you guys saw the videos of me living in that apartment, but what you didn't see were a lot of the struggles I went through living in that apartment. That was my first year ever living alone. That was a year I got hit really hard with depression and anxiety and so many mental obstacles that I had to overcome, and I was doing it all by myself. And so that year, even though I look at that year as a little bit darker, you know, when I moved to Toronto and I moved into this apartment, that darkness ebbed away. There was still pockets of living in this apartment towards the beginning where I think I still slipped into slumps and such. But in the last year in this apartment, especially 2018, this has been almost like the upswing from, you know, like when the pendulum comes back. So the first year of living alone was the hardest. The second year was by far the most liberating. And now I'm just like, yes, okay, I feel like I know who I am. I feel like I know so much about myself. The things that you will learn from living alone are, one, how much you don't need to technically go out when you don't live with anyone, so you have to force yourself to get out of your house. I'm an introverted extrovert in the sense that I recharge my batteries alone, but I recharge my energy around other people. So I need both. And sometimes when I get too introverted from living alone and I stop myself from going out and stuff, I get this like empty, hollow loneliness. Using the knowledge of living alone and feeling that loneliness and feeling that icky kindness of, oh wow, it's been a while since I've left. Like, oh wow, it's been a while since I put a bra on. Like, that was like, I'm kind of in a low point right now, and instead of beating myself up for it like I did at the beginning, like the first year I lived alone, I started using it as like a, oh, maybe this is a sign I need to get out more. And so I just stopped making it so serious, started getting out more, and met a bunch of people this year, and it was like one of the best things I've done. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about your thought processes, your habits, how much you enjoy yourself, or how much you actually genuinely, and I'm not talking like a cocky, boastful, love yourself, how much you just truly love the fact that you are just an entity, that you are just a soul, that you are just someone trying to figure it out just like the person in the next apartment over, the next house over, and you really have to learn to love yourself to be able to live alone and live alone happily. I'm happy crying because I feel like if I didn't live alone, I don't think, oh my god, hold up. Takes impromptu coffee sip. If I didn't live alone, I don't think I would have ever been able to figure out how to work through my mental health on my own and how to love myself in a way that isn't just like, I love myself because I don't need anybody else. It's more like, no matter what, I'm gonna love myself. No matter what, I'll pull myself through things. Now I know that no matter where I am, if I'm in Thailand by myself, if I'm in BC with Bentley camping, if I'm living in an apartment with Larissa, if I'm living in an apartment by myself, I'm always home. Because no matter what, I have like grounded my belief system to something bigger than me. It's not like the whole world's outside and I'm just over here. It's we're all connected. Our energies are always ebbing, flowing. There's people around all the time and we are connected to something so much bigger. All right, what else do we got in here? Megan Pope wants to know, what are the pros and cons of living alone versus living with a roommate? So I've lived with a roommate before and I've lived alone now. And now I'm moving back in with a roommate. And I'll tell you my pros and cons from what I've learned just on like a very basic level, okay? Pro to living alone, you obviously can dance around in your underwear. You can cook all the food you want. Your stuff is all the way you want it. Like if you leave something one way, it's just gonna stay that way. You know where everything is all the time. You don't have to take other people's opinions into effect. You can have like a crying fest and no one's gonna be like, tap, tap, tap. You okay in there? You dying? You can also have a fun, happy dance fest and nobody's gonna be like, can you turn the music down? Cons to living alone, it can be really lonely. It can be very isolating. You don't have other people's energy to kind of feed off of. When you wake up on a Sunday morning, you just wanna have coffee with somebody or, you know, things like that. When there's something scary or there's bugs, you kind of have to deal with it on your own, and paying the bills is more expensive. True point. Pros and cons to living with a roommate. You always have like a built-in best friend all the time, pretty much becomes like your sister to dance party with, to pick you up when you're feeling down, to talk about boys, to have your morning coffee and talk about your horoscope with, and then to have a glass of wine at night while you guys make dinner, you know? Sick. You get to kind of create almost like a family unit. We're gonna host like dinner parties and all this stuff, and I'm so excited like to become the hostesses with the mostesses. There's somebody there for Bentley when I'm just like, if I have to run out, that is a thing for me. Like if I have to run out for a few hours, it always makes me feel a little bad that just Bentley's, you know, chilling by himself, and Larissa will be around and she loves Bentley, and back in the day Maggie would hang out with Bentley, and so that always makes me feel really good. When work's done at the end of the day, or if you have somebody to watch like a Netflix binge with and all that stuff, you have like your literal built-in sister. We're gonna be able to like create our apartment the way we want it. We're gonna have like a little photo Instagrammable like outfit of the day area to listen to like Taylor Swift at 10 p.m. with, you know, to go out on the weekend with, to chill on Sunday and do laundry. Just knowing that even sometimes somebody's in the same house as you. Like there's another thing to living alone. Sometimes I just like the comfort of knowing that even if I'm not hanging out with the person I live with, that they're just like in the same house as me somewhere. There's something comforting about that. Cons to living with a roommate, like I said, like if you want your stuff a certain way, or if you want to just like be sad and be alone, but these are things that you can still do. You can just like tuck yourself in your room, go have your cry fest. You still technically have your space. I think as long as you have your singular space, living with somebody is just as great as living alone. If anything, it's just kind of a little bit better. Pros and cons, you know. Michaela Henderson says, why is it important to strive for change and self-discovery? You're constantly trying to evolve, which is amazing, but what draws you to it? Happy moving, and I hope the coffee is the best ever. Thank you. It actually is, guys. Hazelnut creamer has been out for 2 weeks. Tell me this isn't a sign that yesterday I went and they had one left. And I picked it up and I was like, are you kidding me? My last morning coffee, I get to have the hazelnut creamer? Heck yes. I think it's important because that's to me what the whole point of life is. I think if we're not striving for change and self-discovery, then what are we doing? We're just killing time. We're on autopilot. I think when we're constantly striving to change and we're striving to discover ourselves and discover our world and discover how we can grow more into it, then that means we're awake. That means we're alert. That means that we're conscious and we're aware of how incredible this whole thing is. The fact that this video exists, the fact that this mug exists, the fact that it is a Friday right now and I'm just sitting on a bed in Toronto, Ontario, 24 years old, talking to you wherever you are in the world. Like this is all happening. Striving for change and striving to always evolve and do better with what you're handed with, and trying to stay aware of you have control over how much you try to take what you're given and to make the most out of it. There is no, okay, once you make it here, then you can stop. And it's one of those things that's why you can fall out of balance with it. I do sometimes, where I'm almost striving so much for change that I put too much pressure on myself. But bringing it back down, it's just like, if you just try and evolve every day, if you just try and do a little bit better, if you just try and make the present moment at every moment, Eckhart Tolle, your best friend rather than your enemy, and take everything that's handed to you and without judging it, just make the most out of it, then I think that that is constantly evolving. Okay, taking care of your body is important. Taking care of your life and your bills and all of these things are important. But it all just boils down to the fact that we are just souls, just here to experience something. And that's what I believe. And I don't think it's about finding an answer, because I think that there is no answer. I think that it is all about just experience and pushing your soul to do more things and pushing yourself to see more things and connect with more energies and vibrate always at a higher level. See all things in life as just a fun new challenge rather than a stressful misery. Maybe I move into this apartment and I'm like, oh my god, I miss living alone. Whatever, everything in life is temporary. It's a year and I don't think I'm gonna feel that way because like I'm so freaking pumped to have a roommate. I'm so pumped to like live with one of my best friends and just like do our thing for a year. And if at the end of that year I want to go back to living alone, I can. But this year, no matter what, is going to teach me something. And instead of judging worst case scenario, I want to judge best case scenario and I want to make the most out of it and I want to just have fun with it. Constantly living and experiencing in the present, you know? Moving on to the second part of your question is what draws me to it. It's just there needs to be for me a reason. There needs to be a purpose because otherwise I feel aimless. I feel directionless, especially because I don't ever want to settle, and that's why I'm constantly drawn to change and evolve and kind of self-discover because I think the more you learn about yourself and then the more you toss it away with abandon, like you never attach to it, you just learn, that to me is never settling. That's where my anxiety comes from. That's where I get antsy. That's where I get depressed, is when I feel like I'm settling, when I know I'm not doing my best, when I know that I'm not striving for something greater. Balance has been a big thing this year, but that's why sometimes I do. I follow to balance, and with knowing thyself, I've gotten better at making sure that I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. So I think when you take power in the things that you do have control over and let go of the things that you don't, then you constantly evolve and grow on your own. It's just inevitable. So Marcella wants to know, what do you think you'll miss most about this particular apartment and living alone? How do you think things will change in your channel now that you have not just a roommate, but one that's also in the U world? Okay, so that's also something I am so excited about. For starters, let me bring it back to the beginning of your question. This apartment, I'm gonna miss the patios. I'm gonna miss the view from the office. That's it. I think that's truly it. I think it's just that office room because that's what sold me on this apartment. And the patios, I love sitting out on my patio, although we have a little front patio now, so it'll just be like a new patio. I guess just like the fact that I can be a little crazy with organizing and cleaning things. I feel like I'm gonna have to chill out on that a little bit because not everything needs to be labeled and boxed, but I also feel like Larissa wouldn't care if I labeled everything. If anything, she'd probably appreciate it. Well, how do I think that things will change on my channel with having a roommate and also one that's in the U world? So Larissa has a YouTube channel too. She works a full-time job, but she also has a YouTube channel, and that is something that we like instantly clicked over. I'm about to get Rose Ramble mood on you right now real quick about astrology, so I apologize. She's a Taurus, okay? And I'm a Pisces. We are meant to be best friends. Like Taurus and Pisces. Christine, my other best friend from Coachella, she's also a Taurus. Like my dad's a Taurus, my brother's a Taurus. All the bestest friends in my life have been Tauruses or Sagittarius, Maggie. We just mesh. Larissa and I mesh super well. So even the way we talk about our YouTube content, like when I start rambling about YouTube, it's not one of those things where like all of a sudden this blanket of like, okay, yeah, goes on her face. She's like, no, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, this is what you mean. And I'm like, yes, you get it. That's making me super excited because I know she's somebody that I will be able to pull out my camera and vlog at any given moment and she's not gonna care. Versus, and I mean this with no animosity at all, depending on how long you guys have been watching me, I lived with my ex Ryan, and he was somebody that when we lived together, I didn't really vlog us like in our place or just us chilling on a Sunday or us doing this because it was one of those things that, and I'm sure it would have been okay had I made it more of a thing. Like if I was like, I really want to do this, like I need to do this, but it never felt like it was a comfortable, just natural thing to do. Whereas when I'm with Larissa, I can pull out my camera all the time and it just feels natural. I'm just like, I'm gonna vlog this because this is cool. And she's like, yep, me too. And then we both will like set up our cameras and I'm like, God bless all the guys I've dated. I say that like I've dated a lot of people, but all of like the longer term relationships I've had since I've started my YouTube channel, there's been two, weren't really into this world. They weren't really into the social media thing, and that's totally cool. But it's something that also ended up becoming a big obstacle in both of those relationships. And I think a big thing that kind of became part of the means to the end of both relationships is that I felt like I had two separate worlds going on all the time. Things that I knew I really wanted to capture, not because I felt I had to post it online, but because the whole reason why I do what I do, the whole reason I started YouTube is because ever since I was a kid, I've loved to capture things. I love capturing moments and feelings and memories because they make me feel so deeply that I can go back and watch them and remember what it was like to feel that way. Now knowing that I'm gonna be living with somebody where I can pull out my camera no matter what's going on and film and not feel like I'm making anyone feel uncomfortable is gonna be huge, because I feel like you guys are gonna see a lot more of my personal life, and that is making me super excited. And also too, it's always fun being around somebody that's into that same like creative stuff as you, because your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And if your tribe is into the same things and you're constantly thinking of new ideas, that's where collaborative energies come to play. New ideas, creative outsourcing, like even just being able to be like, yo, can you take an outfit photo for me? And her being like, yes. It's gonna be fun. I feel like there's gonna be a lot more content after I move, honestly. Abby wants to know tips on moving out. Like, what do you keep and get rid of, and was that hard for you? Today's the last day of packing up all my stuff, and let me tell you the trick that I've officially started as of last night. Last night I took everything that I knew was a need. Coffee, clothes, truly. Just things that I was like, I cannot get rid of this, no ifs, ands, or buts, and put it all in the middle of my living room. And then once that was done, everything else was kind of like a, could I get rid of this? Or do I want to maybe donate this and get a new this? Or that I think really helped me, because at first I was feeling so overwhelmed by having to pack up everything and being like, what do I keep? What do I get rid of? And it's also made it so that I got to downgrade a lot of my things, so that moving is going to be a lot simpler, it's going to be a lot easier, and I'm going to feel like it's more of a fresh, clean slate, you know? Tata wants to know, when do you know it's time to move and find a new place to call home? Love your channel so much. Thank you, Tata. I think I've known about wanting to move for a while. I also just think though that time has a funny way of showing you on its own. This is the longest I've ever stayed in one apartment since I moved out when I was 19, 18, right? Which is crazy. Like, I lived with Ryan. Actually, I moved away for college, but that was only for a few months. Then I lived with Ryan, but that was about 8 months. Then I lived with Maggie, and that was about a year. My first apartment alone, and that was about a year. And then I moved here, and that has been almost 2 years. And so this is the longest that I've stayed rooted somewhere. My early 20s of my life has been very much like trying to find a new definition of home. And that's just like a whole other topic that stems from family situations. It stems from just being more independent growing up and just who I am as a person. But this is the first place that I feel like I called home for the longest and I felt the coziest in. I think after Greg and I broke up, this apartment, while I love it, I look at it as that chapter of my life. I met Greg like right after I moved in here. So many of my memories in this apartment were made with him through that version of who I was. Like, I feel like you are different people at different phases of your life, right? And the phase of who I was when I was dating Greg wasn't a bad person, wasn't a worse person than who I am now. It was just a different person. And after, of course, Greg and I broke up, I was traveling, there was things going on, summer was here. It was just like too hectic to move right away. So I decided to let the dust settle and then kind of do it right. And that is just how I knew. Like, I think timing has a funny way of just doing it for you and presenting opportunities to you. And I was like, okay, I feel like September is going to be a good time to move. And then Larissa was looking for somewhere in September. And I thought long and hard about it first, because I didn't want to impulsively ask Larissa to become my roommate, because I knew she was thinking about living alone too. But it was one of those things that the more I thought about it, I was like, this makes so much sense. She was like, hell yeah, I'm down. And then we were like, God, this is just working out. Even the way we found our apartment, timing has a funny way of just presenting things to you. I loved this chapter. I am going to forever feel so sentimental about this chapter. I don't think I've ever grown more as a human being than I have within these walls. I'm ready to take what I've learned here and move on to something new and utilize all the tools that I've learned and utilize all the lessons that I've learned. Create more, you know, lessons to learn, more memories to be made, more boys to kiss, more wines to drink, more coffees to sip on, more Sunday mornings to just gist in, and just, yes, I'm ready. And that is how I knew it was time to let go. The nostalgic part of you is gonna wanna cling to it. It's gonna wanna think, I can't leave here because this made me happy. But what if that could make me happier? There's nothing left here, you know? As much as I love this place, I have no bad reasons to leave. They're all good reasons to leave. It's ready to be let go of so that I can go find a different kind of happy, go find a new kind of happy, go make new memories, new experiences, and ultimately a new phase of my life and a new chapter of my life. And so that is why and how I knew. But I feel like this coffee talk has been going on a while. You guys sent me so many good questions. Kept this one just related to moving, but I'm gonna film a couple more coffee talks as soon as I move, and I'm gonna take a lot of the questions that you guys sent and put them into even just podcast episodes, because you guys were sending in some really, really good topics. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for spending my last morning coffee with me, guys. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you guys to see the new place. I'm so excited for just all the things, Wow. So there's gonna be a 2-part series. Part 1 is packing, part 2 is moving. Today is the last day of me filming the packing video vlog, I guess. And then tomorrow I'm vlogging the whole move and all weekend because it's the last long weekend of summer. Say goodbye to this backdrop. Oh, okay, we can't. I'm gonna cry again. Should we cheers and do one last swig to this place? Oh, goosebumps again, guys. What? I also, can we just take note that of course I chose the yellow mug today? And there you have it, the final coffee talk of this apartment. Bye guys.
Yeah, it's messed up, but it's honest, and it's potent like a moon. You're a bottle, an apartment, girl I had you, now you're gone. That's why it's